Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, everyone. It's the Regular Guys Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Bowser. We are talking the draft. We are already over, you know, the first rounds. And so what we're now doing is right away, we're talking about the 2026 NFL draft, team by team picks from round one through the top 100 plus the start of round four. No shortcuts, no fluffs. Let's run it. So I want to start off with what Arizona has done. I like what they have did with Jeremiah Love. Also, the offensive tackle slash guard, and then Carson Beck. I think the Carson Beck pick was one that was definitely needed by them. I think with Carson Beck being picked when Carson Beck was, I think that he is going to surprise a lot of people and and be that starter that I think Arizona needed. I do I do also like the D tackle pick that they got out of Southeast Louisiana. But I think with Lane there, I mean with Love there, I think Love is going to really help Beck, and also he's going to help Beck, and he's also is going to help Marvin Harrison. He's going to help that offense in all ways, which is what they need. I will say this. I will say that given the fact that Arizona is basically being, you know, new coaching staff, new basically everything. New everything. That is something that we definitely it's definitely worth looking at. Atlanta, I think Atlanta grabbing Terrell at 48 and then Branch at wide receiver. They definitely needed the wide receiver help. Atlanta did because they only had just your one guy. So I think getting a number two to go along with what they already have down there, I think Atlanta is going to be a team to watch out for. And then I see that they just drafted a wide receiver, I mean a tight end. So and everybody know with Kevin Stefanski, he likes that tight end, the three tight end set. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going on down there with Kevin Stefanski and also with their running game that they have, their passing game. I just want to see everything about Atlanta and see, how they going to help Michael Penix out. How are they going to, get Penix to that level that Penix should be at, given the fact that he's on the given the fact that Penix is going to be coming off an injury, they got rid of Kirk Cousins, and they also messed around and basically said, "Hey, we may trade Kyle Pitts, we may not. I don't know, but I would like to see how Kevin Stefanski is going to change this up. It's going to be interesting. Again, we're talking about Atlanta. We're talking about Kevin Stefanski. So, with that being said, I think Atlanta may come out of the South and, make some noise, wreak havoc, and do their thing. Next team, I definitely want to discuss. And to me, this is one where I think this team should have went in a totally different. Well, I'm not going to say went in a totally different direction because they did what they had to do. But to me, it's like I think they're trying to mimic what they're doing with what New England did. So Baltimore wound up getting a guard, Young and Lane. So they got a guard, an edge, and a wide receiver. Now, the guard is understandable because you need the protection for Lamar. Um, and with Lamar being Lamar, he definitely needs the protection. Now, and that's on the offensive line. Now, this one I'm going to get in a little bit deeper with the Baltimore Ravens and all these Ravens fans out here. Y'all may like me after I say this. Y'all may not. To me, I'm just telling it like it is, especially given the fact it's draft day. So you picked up Mike Green last year to play edge. You went and got Trey. You go in and you go get Zion Young at edge. You really isn't addressing your needs that you really need to address. And to me, it's wide receiver. Now, given the fact I don't know why they gave Mark Andrews an extension and not kept Isaiah Likely and basically just was like, heck, we can replace Likely. That's that's hard, but they're going to try to. But given the fact they went in and got Lane and they got another slot receiver, if they think Zay Flowers is a number one or number two, they're drunk. He's not. Zay Flowers is a number three. Zay Flowers is a slot wide receiver. Zay Flowers run routes that are slot routes. They aren't your typical wide receiver routes. When a wide receiver got different route trees. And this is the thing with Lane that they're going to run into. They're going to run into the fact that with Lane, he's not that persistent with his route trees. He's not that persistent in his route running. He's not that persistent in dominating in his routes. Okay. Zay Flowers, the same way. The thing about Zay that is basically can keep a D coordinator up at night is he can stretch the field. But that's it. He can't run. You go across the middle, he get tagged. Boom. The same way with Lane. So to me, they're still failing Lamar. They're not giving Lamar that dominant wide receiver that they should have. You was going to give up 2 number 1 picks for Crosby, but you're not going to go out here and give up 2 number 1 picks to move up to get a take, to get somebody else. So the thing is, you have to get it right. And in order to get it right, you got to do it right. And that is probably what, and that is why Baltimore gets to the first, second, third round of the playoffs and get knocked out because they're not doing it right. They need to do it right. Okay. Everybody's saying give Jesse Mentor a chance. Let's see what Jesse Mentor can do. Jesse Mentor was in Baltimore before. And like I told my guy, Will, I was saying, hey, what they need to do, what they should have did was went completely out of the building and brought somebody else in. They shouldn't have brought somebody else in that was there before. Okay. To me, that was the a mistake. You should have brought in a coach that's one that is going to build your offense, that is going to put Lamar in a situation where he can finally take it to that next level. To take it where Lamar can finally get that Super Bowl trophy. Lamar been there for 9 years now and still hasn't even touched the Super Bowl. He done been there. He done been to the championship games, but he hasn't touched the Super Bowl. And to me, that's malpractice. To me, Baltimore is failing Lamar year after year after year after year. They're failing him. But we're going to see what Lane can do in the slot along with Zay Flowers. Now the defensive side of the ball, I have to see. I have to see how that turns out for them on the defensive side of the ball. Because to me, the defensive side of the ball, they're going to get they're going to make progress anyway. Their defense has always been good. Um, their defense is plug and play. And as long as they got Hamilton, as long as they got Calvin Hamilton there and they got Nate Wiggins and everybody else there, I do think that they're going to, you know, make some noise on defense. But do I got them winning the division? Nah, I can't. I can't give them that. I'll be lying if I say Baltimore is going to come out on top and Baltimore is going to win that division. I don't have that happening. Um, Now the next one, Buffalo. I like what Buffalo's been doing. Buffalo has went edge with Parker. They got the corner out of Ohio State and the offensive tackle out of Boston College. This is the thing that I want to say, okay? And this is for you football fans out there. Ohio State produced both. They produce on both sides of the ball. And that's what I like about Ohio State. They produce on both sides of the ball where when they make it happen, they make it happen. So I like, their players that they got that went into the draft, which there are some phenomenal players. And I also like their pick. So I think Davison out of Ohio State, who was picked at 62 by Buffalo, I think that was a heck of a pick. I think Buffalo is starting to get it right along with everyone else. So, you know, talking the draft and them going into the draft and doing their thing is great. Is great. And I think that Buffalo is saying we're not going to take this no more. We're going to go ahead and do our thing to get over the top and to basically go further than what Baltimore has been going. And I think that they definitely is going to surprise a lot of people. I do think that with the right pieces around their top flight QB, around Josh Allen, I think they're going to surprise a lot of people this year. I think Buffalo is going to single-handedly come out of the East. Even though I like the moves that Jester made, but I do think that they're going to come out of the East. Um, My next team I definitely want to talk about also is Carolina. Carolina Panthers, who won the South last year. I think they're trying to continue that tradition this year. I think with them getting protection on an offensive tackle, um, Monroe Fielding out of Georgia, which was a good pickup that is going to help solidify the offensive protection. Lee Hunter, the D tackle out of Texas Tech. and the wide receiver out of Tennessee. I think they're trying to say, hey, we're going to continue on the run that we are on. And I think that with them doing that, that is going to that is going to solidify them as going back and most likely winning the championship again for that division. But Tampa has retooled. So we're gonna see what Tampa is gonna do with the retooling that they've done and what Atlanta is gonna do with everything that Atlanta has done. I'm jumping to the Bears now. They got the safety out of Oregon. They got Jones, the center out of Iowa. They went and got another tight end out of Stanford, and then they got Thomas out of LSU. Um, I like what they did. I like what Chicago did. So Chicago can stay competitive in the North and possibly try to win the North again. But I think Green Bay is going to be their problem. They're doing in their side, and I think Green Bay is going to give them. Is not going to just let them take that division. I think they're going to, you know, say, "Nah, this is us." I see they just drafted Malik Muhammad out of Texas, um, corner. So they're retooling on the defensive side of the ball as well. And they're saying, hey, we're going to compete at that same high level that we was at last year. So we'll see. I'm gonna get into the I'm going back to the NFC North. So I'm going back to a division that I strongly believe that if the cards fall right, Cincinnati may win that division. But the team that's going to be knocking on that door is the Cleveland Browns. Cincinnati went and got the defensive end Howell from Texas A&M, and then they turned around and they got Davis, the cornerback out of Washington. So they're retooling, and they're retooling to basically make that run at Baltimore and make that run at that division, which I think is smart for them. I do believe that Cincinnati can win that division, given the fact of the new coaches that's in that division and everything else. But I'm not going to sleep on Todd Monken in Cleveland. Cleveland, they went and they got their offensive tackle for protection for Deshaun Watson. They went and they got both of their wide receivers. They got KC out of Texas A&M, Boston out of Washington, and then they went and got Fields out of Notre Dame. So they're definitely retooling to go with the safety out of Toledo, McNeil Warren, Emmanuel McNeil Warren, Romeo Heights out of Texas Tech, the edge, and then Austin Beaver, the offensive tackle out of Florida. I think Cleveland is trying to say, hey, don't sleep on us. And I think, given what I've seen from Deshaun Watson in practice and what I've seen from Deshaun Watson, from what they've been showing for the offseason workouts, I think Deshaun Watson is going to come back strong. I really do. Deshaun Watson, a lot of people fail to realize this is he doesn't have the wear and tear that most quarterbacks will have because of his time away from the game, injuries and everything else. So I think he still got that life, and I still think that he's going to be able to handle his business and do his thing, that he always do. Um, I do think that Cleveland with Todd Monken is going to run a lethal offense, and their defense has already been solid. So we will see how that plays out and how that turns out. It's going to be very interesting. Let's get into Dallas. I like what Dallas did. Dallas went and got the safety, Caleb Downs. Then they went and got the edge, Lawrence from UFC. Then they went and got Burnham from the edge from Michigan. And then they went and got Drew Shelton, the offensive tackle out of Penn State. So Dallas is trying to say, hey, NFC East, don't sleep on us. You know, Dallas offense was good last year. Their defense was somewhat okay, but the only thing about that is you're trying to make up for what you lost in Michael Parsons. And are they doing it? Somewhat. I don't think they are, but because that's a lot of production to basically, I'm gonna say that's a lot of production to basically try to replace. It's hard, it's difficult, but they could make it happen. This is Dallas that we're talking about. So you know, it just depends on what moves that Dallas makes. Okay. So the next one is the team that went to the AFC Championship game, the Denver Broncos. With Bo Nix coming back, they really didn't have to add what they added. They added a D tackle out of Texas A&M. They added Coleman, the running back out of Washington, and they added KC, the old lineman out of Boise State. All they did was basically add depth players. I think that they're going to go back and they're going to, make noise. They may be back in the championship game next year. I would like to see it. Heck, I would like to see them in Washington have a Super Bowl rematch, you know, and we will see. We will see what happens. But that's going to be a very interesting team, especially with Bo Nix coming back. I'm gonna move on to the Detroit Lions. They got protection for Jared Goff and Blake Miller, old tackle out of Clemson, and then they went and got edge Derek Moore from Michigan. You know, they're two picks. I like it. Um, I think that with what they're trying to do is retool and get back to the championship game. I think they're doing it the right way. I do believe Detroit can try and fight Green Bay to try to get the division. It's going to be hard. It's going to be a fight, but we will see. You know, again, it's Detroit we're talking about. And they're in a division with the Packers. They're in the division with Chicago. They're in the division with Minnesota. So we will see. All them teams made great moves. The Packers, they went cornerback and defensive tackle, which I'm seeing what they're trying to do is concentrate on the defensive side of the ball to build that defense up and make that defense stronger. I think a lot of teams you're going to see this year is going to copycat what Seattle did. Seattle went in, they let their running back do his thing, but they let their defense dominate. And you're going to see that in Green Bay. Green Bay is building their defense to dominate. And I think with their defense dominating, like their defense is going to dominate, you're going to have them be doing their thing. And as they're doing their thing, they are letting that division know this is our division. We're taking it back and we're going to keep it. So it's going to be interesting. Very interesting. Now, down to the AFC South, which is going to be very interesting. Very interesting. I think with the South, the AFC South, with the Houston Texas, the Colts, Jacksonville. I think them three teams are the teams that, to me, and that division is going to be a problem. You know, the Houston Texas, they went guard, defensive tackle, tight end, guard. The Colts, they went linebackers, safety, corner. They went defense. One went offense. One went heavy offense. One went heavy defense. Jacksonville just threw everything in all at once. They went tight end. They went D tackle. They went offensive guard, and then they went back and went corner. So they basically saying, hey, don't forget us. Now the team that the two teams that really retooled was in the AFC West. Kansas City, I can say they're back. They jumped in front of us, and I'm gonna tell y'all this. So I was at the draft party for the Commanders, which was a great draft party, VIP, everything. It was great. And when Monsoon Delane name got basically picked for Kansas City, a lot of people was like, there. It was like, okay, hopefully we still get our other guy. And I think Washington did. But if you tell me if Monsoon Delane was there, I think Washington was going to pick him over Styles, which to me makes a lot of sense. But I'm going to get into when I get into Washington picks. And then after what I say, a lot of people going to say, okay, it makes sense on why Mike is saying what Mike is saying. So I like the corner, Monsoon Delane for Kansas City, Pete Williams for defensive tackle. They went heavy defense. Kansas City went heavy defense, which is crazy. And by them going heavy defense like they did, they went corner, defensive tackle, they went edge, and they went safety. So that tells you what they're concentrating on. Getting that defense back to the way that that defense was when they made this Super Bowl run. So watch out. The other team that I'm going to tell Denver to watch out for, besides Kansas City, is the Raiders. I like what the Raiders did. You got Mendoza at quarterback, and I will let people know I'm the one that called that Kirk Cousins signing to the Raiders. A lot of Raiders fans saying they don't like it. They don't know why they did it. It makes sense. You're doing what Kansas City did with Patrick Mahomes and Alex Smith. Alex Smith started. Patrick Mahomes came in the last game of the year, showed what he can do, and they moved on. The same thing with Kirk Cousins. You let him come in. You let him mentor that quarterback. You set Mendoza for a year. Because if you don't set Mendoza for a year and you put Mendoza out there, Mendoza is going to look like a bust. So you don't want to make Mendoza look like a bust. I will say this, Mendoza might start around week 7, depending on how Kirk Cousins does. But if the organization is smart, hint, Raiders fans, listen, get this to Tom Brady, get this to everybody out there. If the Raiders fans and their coaching staff and their owners are smart, they would let Kirk Cousins play the whole year and let Mendoza learn behind him. Because if they don't, they need to get sued for malpractice. That's all I'm going to say on that. I like the quarterback. I like the defensive back. I like the edge. I like the guard center. And I also like the corner. I like the moves that they made. They got players from out of Indiana, Arizona, Auburn, Texas A&M, and Tennessee. I love what they did. The Chargers. The Chargers went edge, center, and wide receiver. I think the Chargers still need a couple more pieces in there. And then I can say they're up there with the Rams and everybody else. But, it is what it is. Now I'm shifting and I'm going to the NFC West, and I'm going to the Rams. And I have to get on the Rams GM. You's an idiot. You's a pure D idiot. You went and drafted Todd Simpson with the third pick of the draft. For what reason? I have no idea. You could have waited to get Todd Simpson. You could have waited and you could have got him in the fourth or fifth round. Todd Simpson wasn't going nowhere. And even if he did go to Arizona, Arizona would not have liked it because Arizona got the quarterback that's better than him, which is Carson Beck. So again, you're an idiot, a straight idiot. That was dumb. That is Matt Stafford's team. Then you go behind Sean McVay's back. McVay don't know nothing about it, and you go sign your friend's son. You's an idiot, man. You deserve anything that comes to you for making a bonehead thing like that, for putting a quarterback on a 5-year basically contract because you're going to be the idiot that is going to pick up that fifth year. That's all I'm gonna say on that. Then they went and got the Ohio State tight end, and then they turned around and got the offensive tackle from Missouri. But again, Ty Simpson at 13, you's an idiot. I'm sorry, bruh. You's an idiot. Moving on. I just I'm just so frustrated over that one. I just don't get it. But moving on. Um, The Dolphins is retooling. The Dolphins is retooling all over. They're retooling on offense and they're retooling on defense. They signed Parker out of Alabama. They signed Johnson, the cornerback out of San Diego State. They signed Rodriguez, the linebacker out of Texas Tech. They signed Caleb Douglas, the wide receiver out of Texas Tech. They signed Cromat, the tight end out of Ohio State, another Ohio State person gone. Wow. And then they signed Bell out of Louisville. Chris Bell is a great pickup for them. That is going to be what they need to replace both Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. So that was a great pickup for them. I'm going to Minnesota next. Minnesota, they went and got Caleb Banks out of Florida. Galladay out of the linebacker out of Cincinnati. They went and got Dominique Orange, the D tackle out of Iowa State. They got Treon, the old tackle out of North Northwestern, and then they went and got Jacoby Thomas, the safety out of Miami. I like what Minnesota did, especially with the fact that Kyler Murray will be their starter, and they already got a team in place that is going to help him. New England, the Patriots, they just went in and got a they went and got uh they got the offensive tackle out of Utah. They got the def- Gabe out of Illinois, and then they also went and the Patriots. That is, they also went and got the tight end out of Notre Dame. I do have my co-host up on here, William Young. And I already got to Baltimore earlier, but I'll go back to it after I get finished going over a lot of the others. Now we're talking the Saints. I think the Saints with Tyson out of Arizona State, the wide receiver. They needed that pick. They needed number 2 to go along with Olavier. I think that was a good one for them. I think Christian Miller, the defensive tackle out of Georgia, was good, and I also think Depp, the tight end out of Georgia, was a good pick for the Saints. The Saints is on the clock with their pick in right now. In in the fourth round, and we'll see how they go. Now we're going to move on to the NFC East, to the Giants. The Giants got Arvell Reese, which is going to help that defense more. The defense already got Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau. Who else will they got? With the Giants, they
Um,
they got it.
they got.
They got Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau. Who else?
I forget the other name of the players.
Well, they got a good defense, and I think their defense is what is going to keep the Giants going. They went and got the corner Hood out of Tennessee, which was much needed, and they got um Francis Maniloga out of Miami, the offensive tackle. I think that what the Giants is trying to do is they trying to say, "Hey, NFC East, don't forget about us."
Hmm.
I'm going to go to the AFC East now and the Jets. I'm gonna say so. The Jets went and got David Bailey, edge. They went and got Sadiq, the tight end out of Oregon. They went and Amari Cooper Jr. out of Indiana. They went and got D'Angelo Pons, cornerback out of Indiana. They went and got Jackson, the defensive tackle out of Florida State. Then they got Nick, the quarterback out of Clemson. That's the only one I didn't get. Can somebody explain to me why they went corner? I mean, well, quarterback out of Clemson. I don't know. I'll never figure it out, but I'm not going to put them on
Who
the
the
label that I
Jets?
put. Yes, the
The
Jets.
Jets. Well, who is that quarterback now? Geno Smith.
Geno Smith, yeah.
So that wasn't a bad pickup. Pick getting Klubnik out of Clemson because Geno Smith is not going to be there for a long period of time. I think he's on a 1 year
Ye-
deal.
right, right. And to me, it's going to
So
be more of a bridge thing. So I agree with you. I
yeah,
agree.
so he's
At
a
least,
bridge.
right. At least they didn't do what the Rams did. Their idiot GM and get Ty Simpson in the first round. Again, I already talked about that earlier. He's an idiot. Straight like that. Now,
Mm.
the Philadelphia Eagles. My man up there, Howie.
Howie.
Howie. The things Howie do. How we got Lemon from USC, Stowers from the tight end from Vanderbilt, and Bell, the offensive tackle from Miami. Howie, we need to ban you from the draft. Because the things that you do is just magical. Um, the Ravens just made a trade. So the Ravens has just made a trade and So the Ravens just made a trade. They got the fourth round pick from the 49ers, and they're sending the 49ers a fifth round in this year's draft, and I do believe a sixth round. They're swapping 2 rounds. They're swapping the fifth and the sixth round today for this pick right here that the Ravens is going to make. So the Ravens just made a trade to move up. And let's see who they go after. And I hope the Ravens go wide receiver. Oh wow. She said we're gonna keep this short like your postseason, like the Steelers postseason. Wow, y'all Ravens fans going hard up there. They went Matthew Hignon, SMU tight end. That was a good that was good. I like that. I like that.
So I say again.
Baltimore went tight end.
Who they pick up?
They picked up Matthew Hibberman Hibner out of SMU, a tight end. He's a clone of Mark Andrews,
Mm.
basically. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So we're all for the
So
Eagles, but go ahead. I'm
so
sorry.
so what I was saying about Howie Roseman, that's not
That's not what. You're going in and out. Well, we're going to wait and see because Will is going in and out. I'm not sure if it's the location that he's in or what, but we're going to see what he was talking about. He had just dropped off with Fire Roseman. We're going to go with Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh went old tackle Ohio State. They went Bernard, wide receiver. The quarterback out of Penn State. They went they went cornerback out of Georgia and old tackle out of Iowa. I like what Pittsburgh did, especially with on the QB side, to let Aaron Rodgers know we ain't gonna sit and wait for you, bruh. We ain't gonna sit and wait for you. And I appreciate and that's what I appreciate to let them know that hey, Aaron Rodgers, nah, we ain't waiting for you. But what would you say about Howie Roseman, Will?
Well, saying about Howie Roseman is he traded for a linebacker from Minnesota, it was Glenard.
Right.
So yeah, he's been busy.
Oh yeah, he has. He has. He's definitely has. And you know, again, so has I think everybody else, especially if you look at y'all division and what y'all been doing, and I'm getting ready to get into basically what the Steelers has done, because what the Steelers has done, man, has been crazy. I didn't expect it, but it happened. And that's the Steelers for you on them being who they are. They're that team where they're like, hey, we're going to keep pace with Cincinnati. We're going to keep pace with Cleveland. We're going to keep pace with the Ravens. And I think that division right now is up in the air.
So
That's
so
going to be
so is the
y'all
NFC
division is
North,
going to be yeah, the NFC North right now is up in the air
AFC
because
North.
of a lot of the moves that is being made. Again, I want to see what they're going to do with the quarterback. Let's see. Let's just see. We're going to go with the 49ers, who made it clear that basically Brandon Ayuk ain't coming back because they drafted the wide receiver out of Old Miss. Um, that wasn't a reach. That was a thing of just like Philly, we need to replace our star that is getting ready to get up out of here. Um, which I expected that. I expected that to happen. And it was something that a lot that if you didn't know, now you know.
Yeah, right.
So right, right. It's just when they're going to release Brandon Ayuk, and just like when they're going to release AJ Brown, we'll see. Um, 49ers also went edge and heights out of Texas Tech. They went black, the running back out of Indiana, and they went Holton, the defensive tackle out of Oklahoma. I like what you know their thing that they did just to stay relevant. Um, Seattle. Seattle is Seattle. That's all I'm gonna say. Seattle is Seattle. Seattle went Price at running back from Notre Dame. They went Clark, safety out of TCU, and they went Neal, corner out of Arkansas. I shouldn't even have to say more on that. They just all they did was just added depth players and added pieces that is going to get them back to where they was.
Did they have a bigger running back in Seattle?
They went and got Price. Yeah, Price was right behind Love.
Mm.
Yeah, same thing I said. I said what you said. Um, they're closing. They're getting close to closing out the fourth round, and then they're going to the fifth round. The thing that's tripping me out about this fifth round that's going to come up is so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's six. The in the fifth round, Cleveland got the sixth pick. They got the eighth pick, and they got the ninth pick. So they got back to back picks in round
So
five.
so now we got three sixes in the sixth round.
Yeah. Um, I'm gonna go with Tampa next. Tampa went with Ruben Bain Jr. off the edge from Miami. They went Jeremiah Trotter's son, Josiah Trotter, linebacker from Missouri, and then they went Ted Hurts, wide receiver from out of Georgia State. That is the replacement for their wide out that they lost. That is
Mm,
that is their replacement.
right.
Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that. That's their replacement. Tennessee went with Tate, Ohio State. Wide receiver, they went with Kendrick Falk, edge out of Alabama, and they went Hill. So they went offensive tack off. Well, they went wide receiver, then they went defense after that. And I think they're going to build that defense up. And last
Who's
but not least, go ahead.
did anybody pick up the tight end from Indiana?
What's his name?
I don't remember. I don't remember his name. He's 6'3", 225. Tight end
Um, I'm looking back now to see if any tight ends was picked. Um,
from
tight ends
Indiana.
has been picked, but oh yeah, he was. I think that's the one that y'all wanted. He was just picked today. He was just picked.
Was he?
Yeah, I forgot who got him, but I know who you're talking about.
Dang,
Yeah, and
that dude.
so yeah, he's nice. I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah, and then we done talked about every team, and now we done talked about every team from each division but one. Last but not least, we're getting into the Washington Commanders. And like I said, the draft party was great. You know, Will was there. He enjoyed his time. Everybody enjoyed their time at that draft party. When they went Sunny Styles, the place went crazy. I think that was a good pick for them to get Sunny Styles. I think my one that I'm kind of about is the Antonio Williams um pick. You know, he's going to be the slot. He's going to be the number three. That is fine. Just depends on they're holding their breath or holding a slot for Brandon Ayuk. And I don't know how that's going to turn out. But with Williams, he can play both outside and inside. From watching his tape and watching everything about him, he's a prolific wide receiver. He's a great route runner. He got good hands. He can high point the ball. He has a great vertical. It's just to me, you still got Luke McCaffrey that can play the slot. You got Jalen Lane that can play the slot. So you got two other slots. But then, like Will say, hey, they got Zay Flowers. Then they went and got Lane. So they got two slots that can. So that's how I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it like he's like he say to look at it as in a positive light. And that's basically what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to look at it in a positive light like that.
There's a Wes Walker and Julian Edelman. Edelman.
Right. Right. And that's how I'm trying to look at it. And especially with the moves that y'all made, I'm trying to look at it as that way too. And hopefully, if Baltimore don't get their receiver, their number two or number one in the draft, they might go free agents or might make a trade. Let's see. Let's see what happens because it's still some free agent wide receivers out there. There's still, others out there. Okay.
Well,
So that
look,
is the
look,
board.
look at from this. Look
Go
at from
ahead.
this standpoint here.
Uh-huh.
Um, During the preseason, right?
Right.
They every roster is inflated, correct?
That is true.
So we can find a number one during the preseason
That is true.
for somebody that okay. We can
That is true.
find a number one for somebody who hasn't been drafted.
Yeah, no,
So
that's true. And I agree. So, and that is the board, team by team, pick by pick, the headlines. The Raiders got their quarterback. The Jets loaded up everywhere. The Browns are active.
Whew,
The Dolphins
got you.
stack weapons and protections. The Steelers gets Drew um, Ogler and Washington as Sonny Styles and Antonio Williams. And looking ahead, so before I go back to the Ravens and before I go back to the Rams and the Ravens, because I'm gonna let Will get his thing in for his team, I want to say looking ahead to next year's the NFL draft goes to Washington D.C. with the event set around the National Mall and Pennsylvania Avenue. That is going to be a monster stage for the league and for the DMV. Um, I'm gonna say this. They were just talking about it. I think Detroit had 720,000 people there for the 3 days straight. I will say this. The National Mall holds 1 million people. DC will crush that number. DC will crush that number day one. I think the DMV is going to show up and show up deep because it's going to be in a location that everybody is going to want to come to and everybody's going to want to see, and then they're going to want to see the progress of the new stadium. But I'm going back to, and I want to get your input on two, Will. I want to get your input on the Rams first, and then the Ravens. So getting Ty Simpson at 13, I said what I had to say on that. To me, the GM should be fired for malpractice. He's an idiot for doing that. You could have got that man in the fifth round. You could have got that man in the fourth round. You could have got that man in the third round. You put a fifth-year option on your friend's son because that's your friend.
No, I had time. I had time. I had time to think about it. I think
Okay.
Todd Simpson wouldn't have. He would not have been there. He
Why you say
would
that?
because of who picked after them. I think the Jets had a pick.
I don't think
Bef-
the Jets was going. I don't
Yeah,
think the Jets was going
yes,
quarterback,
yes,
and I don't
yeah.
think. I
I
think
think,
if the Jets was, they would have went Carson Beck or
but
they would have went
they were trying to pick me in later
excuse me.
rounds. Didn't don't
Right.
say they were trying to pick me in later rounds, but I think Carson. I think what the Carson Beck was a mercy pick, as you say. I think he was a last minute pick because I think they truly wanted Ty Simpson in New York with the Jets. I truly think he would have went to the Jets, but since he was already gone, they picked somebody else in place of that.
Right.
He was the alternate pick.
But the thing is this, you're spent a first round draft pick on a quarterback that who knows what Matthew Stafford is. Matthew Stafford might still be there for the next 3 to 5 years.
Stafford's body is breaking down slowly but surely. After this upcoming season,
Now, I am in agreement with that. I think Matthew Stafford will probably be gone after this year. We will see. But I do say that that was a pick that to me, I would never have put a fifth year on Ty Simpson. Never, never. Second round pick, third round pick, yeah, he's worth that. But a first round pick, no, he's not. He, no, he's not first round talent. He's not first
I
round
think
talent.
I think he is. I think Todd Simpson, he's good. I just think he had a inadequate offensive coordinator at Alabama.
We'll see. That's all I'm gonna say. We'll see. Now, I want to get into your Ravens. I can go with the fact that they went and got a guard because they wanted to get that interior protection for Lamar. That I get. Zy Young, the edge out of Missouri. It's one of them that I'm kind of iffy on because they should have went and got Ruben Bang if they was going to
No,
make
no,
that move.
no, 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 no. They
Why
got
not?
the guy. They got the guy who they wanted. They wanted a guy who could not be double teamed. They wanted a guy who had a high motor and who had double digit sacks in each of his 2 years in college.
Ruben Bain was not going to get double teamed, not with
But
Trey on the other side.
but you know what though?
Trey's going to demand double and triple team.
But you know you got they still made out regardless. They still made out with the pick. So
Yeah, I'm saying I just want to see how they're going to play him and how they're going to use him because again, y'all got Mike Green there. It just depends on how they do Mike Green too. Um, Now Lane, Jacoby Lane, again. If you're going to give Lamar a weapon, please give Lamar somebody on the outside, not two slots.
but
And
you
that's
go
what they
but you
did.
but you know
You gave him two slots
it's
and two tight ends.
but you know it's just like overlooking. It's like you have it's like having you overlooking. People overlook what's already there in front of them. So just because
Right,
there's two guys that are slot receivers, you have you have another guy who can stretch the field, and Tez Walker, who's a good route runner, but
right,
just need the opportunity. Unfortunately, under the old regime, he was never going to get that opportunity to show because it was always being loyal to the same guy.
right,
So
right.
being so now that there's a new sheriff in town, now that same opportunity may be afforded to him to show what he got. But then they signed another wide receiver, Xavier. Got to find his name. They signed they got a receiver and they signed a receiver. So they got two slot receivers. So we don't know what this and Declan Doyle. We don't know what the offense gonna look like.
Yeah, that
So,
is
yeah.
true. We don't. But again, like I said, I just want to see. I want to see how it's going to work with Lane being there, and because you got the guy that can stretch the field in Zay Flowers. It's
Right.
just Lane biggest knock is his route running. Can your wide receiver coach work with the route running? Can he work with the getting him to be that guy? I think I'm gonna say this. I think he can, and I hope he can. I hope he can switch him from slot to outside to give the Ravens at least a number two, and then a number three, and then they can work on that number one. They may find that number one as an undrafted free agent. Who knows? But we will see. So again, but all right, cool. But that being said, what we're gonna do is. And we'll just get ready to hop off. So see you later. Enjoy your time. Enjoy your weekend and enjoy the rest of the draft, bro. All
All right, take care.
right. And so with that being said, I'm gonna run down, the last few minutes of this thing and tell people that's your 2026 draft rundown. Tight, clean, and team by team from number one to the start of the fourth round. These are the picks shaping the next wave of NFL football. Hopefully, I get to see a lot of y'all next year at the draft, which is, by the way, free. The draft is free for a lot of people who don't know. So you can just come to the mall and enjoy it on the National Mall on the biggest stage there is, which is the National Mall next year. And also enjoy the rest of the draft, um, the remaining rounds. I will be on next week to go over the remaining rounds and the remaining picks and everything else. I'm your host, Mike Bowser. This is the Regular Guys Podcast. I will see y'all next week. I will be on next week, and we will definitely have more fun and more insight from guests and everybody else that is going to come in. Again, I'm Mike Bowser. I'm your host with the Regular Guys Podcast. Y'all have a great weekend and enjoy yourselves. I'm out.